What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Guild Wars 2 build video, and today is the day of the balance patch, and I might not be actually releasing it this day, but I will release it eventually. This is a pretty good video coming at you, and by the way, if you want to see more warrior builds and more Guild Wars 2 videos streaming just about every day, feel free to click the subscribe button and the notification bell. That being said, we're going to actually get right into the build for today. So the build I have for today is going to be an interesting new updated build that I have, and it is based on the the balance patch from February 6th. The changes to Warrior have been pretty good, I would say. So, a few nerfs to Spellbreaker, but we're not really going to talk about that. This is not the right video. Eventually, I will record a video that is specifically talking about the balance patch changes, but this is just about a build. So, let's get right into it. We're talking about gear right now. So, first of all, we got all Assassin's gear, alright, and it's going to be pretty glassy, alright, but, you can mix in a little bit of Marauders if you feel like that's what's best for you, right? I've got a little bit of Marauders. My axes are Marauders, and I got a few accessories, right? My bag pieces, Marauders, or whatever. And by the way, I got legendary breastplate, so that is awesome. Never have to make one of those again. And we're using assassins mainly, and the reason why is that we want lots of critical hits. And the reason why we want lots of critical hits is that we've got lots of ferocity. So, weapon sets. The one I'm using, definitely axes, I would say, are required. This is going to be my updated dual axe build, okay? Axes are going to be required, okay? These axes do the most damage for any weapon on Warrior, and that's going to be the one that you want to use. Next, what I'm using is Greatsword, and I'm really, really happy to say that I'm using Greatsword because I've wanted to play Greatsword Warrior for so long, but I just felt like it lacked so much viability in PvE. And so what we're going to do is actually run Greatsword with the trait, of course, and we're going to see how that works. And I think that it should work quite well. So, with the runes, we've got Runes of the Scholar. Now, I realize that Runes of the Scholar are expensive, and not everybody's going to be able to afford it. All right, it's not exactly the cheapest of builds. Okay, however, I do find that Runes of the Eagle work well. And if you want me to show you Runes of the Eagle, they actually provide as the ending bonus, it's plus 6% damage against enemies that have less than half health. So, I'll just search for it while I'm talking about it. And they're also going to give you a lot of power and ferocity. Now, Runes of the Eagle are giving you precision and ferocity, so that's also okay, right? It is okay. Because you're not getting that raw power or that raw power bonus, but you are getting the ferocity bonus and the precision. The precision is going to help you get more and more critical hits, and that's really important for this build. So we've got that. Another rune set you could go for, if you can afford it, is Rune of the Spellbreaker, and Spellbreaker runes are actually more expensive than Runes of the Scholar. They're 2.5 gold. Scholar runes right now are 1.7 gold each. But this is power and precision, so if you want kind of like a mix of the Runes of the Eagle and Runes of the Scholar, then you could go with the Spellbreaker runes. This is gonna this last bonus has a bonus that's going to be active more often, because in PvE you're going to be fighting a lot of enemies that just don't have any boons. So you're gonna be able to get that benefit more often than with the Scholar runes generally, if you're playing in the types of game modes that I'm playing in. You can use that if you can afford it, if you want to. Scholar runes are good, and Runes of the Eagle are good. That being said, let's move on to sigils. First of all, I've got the Sigil of Cruelty on one of the axes, alright? That's gain a charge of 10 ferocity every time you kill a foe. You gain 5 charges if you kill an enemy player, but we're not going to be talking about the World v World stuff and all of that. We're talking about PvE right now, okay? So we need, we're getting 10 ferocity every time you kill a foe. That's a maximum of 250 extra ferocity, which is really good. It's insanely high damage, okay? Next, we've got a Superior Sigil of Accuracy. I would consider this one absolutely required because it's increasing your critical chance, and you need a lot of critical hits on this. Now, that being said, you are going to get some Fury with Cyclone Axe, which you can use quite often, okay? So you're going to have almost 100% Fury uptime if you use Cyclone Axe, basically main hand axe and the trait is going to give you almost 100% Fury uptime. Very important. It's an extra 20% critical chance, which brings you up to 88%, but it's still not enough. So what we're going to do, and this is why probably it's best to take power and ferocity over precision and ferocity, because the more precision, eventually you're going to get to the point where Fury is going to bring you over 100%, and it's going to be kind of wasted. So it's better if you just get the raw power and then the ferocity. Okay, so next, let's talk about gear. Sorry, not gear, the skills. Okay, next is the skills. We got the axe skills. All right, now this chop, double chop, triple chop, that hasn't changed. Cyclone Axe is, like I said, is going to apply vulnerability, but it's also going to give you Fury. Fury is really important, and because of the trait, it's going to gain reduced recharge. Next of all, we got Throw Axe, which is going to imply Cripple, and of course, 2 balance patches ago, it got, I think it was 2 balance patches, got changed where it's basically an execution skill, boom, and you just do 100% more damage if they're below a certain health threshold. Love that. Next, we've got the 2 skills that basically make this build shine the most, which are Dual Strike and Whirling Axe. Dual Strike gives you quickness, which you can then use to transition into Whirling Axe, and Whirling Axe is so good because they actually increase the damage of this skill by 20% in PvE only. So it just does an insane amount of damage, okay? And keep in mind, this is 15 chances for critical hits. And all of your critical hits are doing 234% extra damage, not even counting the extra damage that you might be getting from some other kinds of, from other sources of ferocity, right? So that is insane. Going to be doing an insane amount of damage. Next, we've got Natural Healing. I love Natural Healing. I just go with that for most of my PvE builds, just not the Dolyak Spellbreaker. But we will talk about the Dolyak Spellbreaker in another video. I'm probably going to make an updated Dolyak Spellbreaker. Next, we've got Featherfoot Grace, and basically this cleanses you of conditions, and this one just allows you to resist them. This is just a basically get out of dodge, get out of jail free card. You're stunned, they knock you down or whatever. Featherfoot Grace, speed off, right? That's the idea behind this skill, because it breaks a stun. You don't really want to use this when you're rushing into battle. Okay. Next, we've got Kick, and my old dual axes build used Bull's Charge and Kick. However, we are only using Kick this time because it's more readily available than Bull's Charge. It's got a pretty okay cooldown. See, Bull's Charge recharges in 24 seconds, and so does Kick, but it's also got the ammunition charges, right? So you can kind of wait for it to recharge, but then also use it on recharge, like while it's recharging, if you have a charge left. Okay, it's more readily available than Bull's Charge. It's going to provide you with peak performance, which is one of the traits that we take. Next, we're actually running Banner of Discipline, and there's a reason for this. All right, so it's going to increase your precision, which is more crit chance, and your ferocity. So it's basically with the trait. Okay, you can see we're also getting regeneration with the trait. We're actually going to be gaining another like 13%, which is going to take us up to 81% crit chance, which is insane, which means with Fury you're actually slightly over 100%, which means that you're going to be critting every single hit. And every single hit, when you've got peak performance and Whirling Axe, that's insane. Alright, with all the extra ferocity you have, it's just absolutely insane. Next of all, we got Battle Standard. If you are using if you're using this build in fractals, then Battle Standard is the best choice to go with. It provides some regeneration, and of course it provides you with Fury. Fury is always good, and also Might, which you're getting extra benefits from because of Strength, the Strength trait line. However, if you're not using this in fractals, then it may be better to switch to hiccups. It may be better to switch to Signet of Rage for the extra adrenaline. You can also gain Fury from the Signet of Rage, and you just get a passive bonus on top of that. The reason being that Battle Standard doesn't actually benefit from the recent rework of the Banner trait. Okay, so because it doesn't actually benefit from that, it's not really required. Okay, it's just something extra that you can get. You can get some regeneration from it, but other than that, you don't really need to take it. Only for fractals for the instant revive. Next, we've got the traits. All right, and first we're running Strength, and of course we've got the the whole reckless dodge thing. I'm not going to read the minor stuff, We got peak performance, which is going to increase your damage by 33% every time you use a physical skill. We've got a physical skill, which is kick. All right, so you need to go into battle. You use kick, you use dual strike, and you use whirling axe, and it's going to be all of those critical hits. Just boom, boom, boom with all the added ferocity. You're going to be insane. You're going to be a beast as a warrior, basically. That's what this means. Next, we're actually taking the Greatsword trait, the Forceful Greatsword. It's going to allow you to get might every time you crit with a Greatsword. And of course, critical hits are important. And if you have Fury, which you're going to gain from Arcing Slice, okay, you're going to be able to gain that. And also, if you have Banner of Discipline, then your crit chance, it's going to be a little bit lower, okay, but it's going to be about, hold on, it's going to be about 95%. That's what it's going to be with the banner and with Fury, about. So you're going to be gaining tons and tons of might, and also it increases the damage and reduces the recharge. So, you know, Rush is only on a 16-second recharge, right? 100 Blades is only on a 6.5-second recharge. I don't know why I said 12. But very good trait in this case, in this build. And of course you benefit extra from might because of Pinnacle of Strength, but I won't, like I said, I won't go into that. Next of all, we've got Berserker's Power, and this is where a variation of the build comes in. Two variations, actually. If you wanted to, if you don't have enough sustain, if you feel like, oh, I've got enough damage boosts already and I just don't have enough sustain, then definitely go with Might Makes Right, okay? Because you're going to be gaining tons of might from the Greatsword, and then also tons of might from Magebane Tether, which we will get into in a second. But then that will give you some extra sustain, right? The 100 Blades is going to hit 8 times, okay? Or maybe 9 times. And it's going to basically be giving you 9 might. And 9 might, you know, times that is, you're going to be gaining about 1,000 health in 3.5 seconds. Or if you have quickness, if you somehow manage to get quickness on you, then you are going to be gaining it in a much shorter period of time. And of course, like all the other things, you know, all the other hits. If they crit, they're giving you might, they're giving you health, and then they're also giving you endurance. So you could choose that if you don't have enough sustain. Next, if you choose to instead take a hammer, then you could, of course, take Merciless Hammer. It inflicts some confusion. They did rework confusion a little bit, but I believe the changes only really took effect in PvP. So really just you know, take the hammer if you want to, if you feel like you need a lot of CC, because you're certainly not getting any from the Greatsword or daggers, or sorry, the axes. And then in that case you would want to take Great Fortitude just for the extra little bit of health. Okay, so, and it gives you a couple thousand extra health. Okay, so next we've got Discipline, and I'm running Vengeful Return right now, but definitely I would rather switch to Warrior Sprint because of the rework that it got. Basically what it means is that if you have Swiftness, then you gain a 7% damage increase. It also means that your movement skills remove your immobilization, which means Greatsword 3 and Greatsword 5, as well as Axe, the burst skills, or the burst skill Eviscerate is also going to remove immobilization. Very useful. Yeah, if you somehow manage to get Swiftness, then, you know, if you've got the Inspiring Battle Standard, right, if you got Swiftness, you're getting a 7% damage increase. Another damage boost, right? So you're gaining the 33% from Peak Performance, potentially 21% extra from Berserker's Power, which would bring you up to, what, 54%? And then you've got an extra 7%, which brings you up to plus 60% when you have Swiftness. And then plus, you're critting all those extra times with Whirling Axe, with the super augmented ferocity. You're just going to be a beast, just absolute beast mode. And don't forget the extra ferocity you get from the Banner of Discipline. So there is that. Next, we've got the Inspiring Battle Standard, and honestly I would consider this required for this build because it's going to improve your banner effects only for you by 50%. What does that mean? It means that instead of getting 150 precision and ferocity, your allies are going to get 170. Sorry, not 150. 170. Your allies will get that, but you will get 255. And that's a ton. That's why your crit chance increases by a whole like 13% when you use this banner. because of Inspiring Battle Standard. It also makes your banners apply regeneration, which is also, it's always nice, especially because they reworked regeneration to where it prioritizes the higher healing power. It just like heals you immediately. So that is something to keep in mind. Definitely something required. Another thing that is required is Axe Mastery. You're using dual axes. Why would you not use Axe Mastery? Extra ferocity, extra adrenaline, and of course, reduce recharge. Whirling Axe every 12 seconds. That is insane. Okay, you use this thing, and it's just like you just a total beast. You know, dual strike in 9.5 seconds. The recharge on throw axe is only 8 seconds. Right? Permafury almost with Cyclone Axe. Insane. Okay, you need Axe Mastery. Next, and finally, we have Spellbreaker. And, of course, you want the critical damage increase. Okay, so look at this. You've got 33% from peak performance. You've got 21% from Stage 3 Berserker's Power. That is 54%. Next, you've got 7 additional percent when you have Swiftness. That's 61%. Then an additional 14% against boonless foes, which is, what, 65... Sorry, no, what is it? We're up to 60... Oh, man, I have to recount. 33 plus 21 is 54, plus 7 is 61, plus 14 is 75% extra damage. That's only critical damage, but then that 75% extra damage... It's actually 61% extra damage on non-crits, but then it's like 234% damage, right, when you crit, and that's like almost all of your hits. So you're getting almost to like 300% damage just from critical hits. It's insane. You're just getting absolutely insane damage numbers. I've already tested this build. It works really well. Next, we've got Loss Aversion, which just, it's a little bit of a help when you remove boons. It does a little bit of extra damage and gives you some extra adrenaline. You could go with Slow Counter. You could easily go with that, but definitely you wouldn't want to go with Sun and Moon Style because we're not using daggers. However, if you wanted to use daggers, perhaps you could take Great Fortitude and Might Makes Right, okay, and then use daggers as a secondary weapon set. You could do that. However, we're not doing that in this build, so I'm just going to show you what I've got here. So, Loss Aversion. And remember, your Full Counter always removes a boon when it hits, and also Kick also removes a boon, so keep that in mind. Next, we've got Magebane Tether, and Magebane Tether has been slightly buffed because of the balance patch. Basically, when someone has a Magebane Tether, that's an additional 10% damage you do against that target, in addition to giving you all that might, okay? So you are just going to be an insanely powerful warrior if you're taking this build. This is basically the power warrior. It's definitely something that you want to keep in mind with the power warrior. You're getting all this might, and the might is better on you because you've got strength, right? That's a power trait. You know, you're doing extra damage to the tethered target. You're doing extra damage when you remove boons. The capability to remove boons with Kick. You've got Pure Strike, which is going to make you do even more damage. This is the Power Warrior build. The Power Warrior build. And we're going to test it out right now. This is my usual testing spot. So we're going to go over here. We got like 3 stages here. Basically, we have the Sand Eels here. And we don't have the Gap Closer. That is Bull's Charge, because we had to sacrifice that in order to get the banner. But as you can see, this is doing a ton of damage. Look at these numbers over here. You see this? Boom. Do full counter. Did not trigger it, actually. In PvE, you're going to have a little bit of a problem getting the creatures to trigger a full counter. But still, okay, now this is stage 2, basically, where we find we get a few more enemies, okay? And then boom, boom, all this damage. Look at all this extra damage. Break the stun, eviscerate, full counter. Still didn't trigger it. Alright? And then you use dual strike whenever you can. They keep stunning me. We actually don't have enough stun breaks, but like I said, you're very glassy, okay? So you're not going to have as much sustain as you might usually have. All right, use natural healing, completely heal up. We got these charges of ferocity, so look at that. And we never even tried the banner. So this is actually what we're going to get into of stage 3 of the testing is. And by the way, standard power food applies. You got the spicy butternut squash, or the sweet and spicy butternut squash is what you got for power builds. And then always the tins of fruitcake to give you extra power. So let's go ahead and summon the banner. And then we are going to go ahead and use Kick. and dual strike for the quickness, and then boom, and that's gonna do just tons of damage. Look how fast they die. Boom, eviscerate. I didn't land that correctly, but I did do the full counter. He did actually counter or trigger my full counter. I can't talk while I'm doing this thing. Okay, so you got that, and do you see, even on the auto attack, right, even we're doing just, you know, chop, double chop, triple chop, and we're doing tons of damage, right, and it's insane. I actually didn't land that, so I didn't get the quickness. But you've got basically so many sources of damage. Just right then, I had the peak performance right there from the kick, and then also Berserker's power, right? I don't know if I had swiftness, but definitely, you know, I'm gaining so many other benefits. That's basically what you're going to want to do, is you're just going to want to stack those damage buffs as quickly as possible and as many as possible, and you're just going to be a beast. That's basically the idea behind this build, is you are a beast. So that's the build. I want to thank you everybody for watching. Remember to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.